So when I was 20 years old and in university, I was the women's issues columnist for my university newspaper. And I vividly remember in March of that year writing an article, and the headline of the article was, "Every day should be International Women's Day." And I remember back then thinking about why is it that we only mark this on one day? Like, why is this not every day? Which is essentially what the article was about. And now here I am, like 25 years later, and I would say two things. So first of all, for me, as a woman of color, on International Women's Day, I recognize the importance of the day. I recognize that it is important that every day we carry the spirit of wanting to create a world that is better for girls and women everywhere. And I also recognize that it's important to have a special day to celebrate our excellence, to celebrate our contributions, to raise awareness about everything that it is that needs to be done to create an equitable world for us. But on a personal note, what is International Women's Day for me? It's about remembering that when I was a little girl, I repeatedly heard messaging from my elders, from teachers, my community, from my peers, from media and more, that as girls, we're not good enough, that boys are better, that as a girl, I was too smart, that as a girl of color, I should not only not be me, but there was something so wrong with me, that I was flawed, I was broken because I wasn't like everyone else. And when I say everyone else, I mean all the other little white kids and white boys in particular that I grew up with. And so for me, on a personal note, when I think of International Women's Day, I think about all of the hard work I did to overcome the woundedness that I felt growing up, feeling diminished and feeling like I was unworthy and not good enough. And all of the work that I did, the therapy, the self-healing work, the self-love work, so that I can stand here today and say, I am the revolution, that I am amazing as a woman of color. And more importantly, how can I bring this message to other girls and other women everywhere? That yes, I may thrive, but as long as I'm thriving and others are not, we are not yet in an equitable, inclusive world. And so for me, International Women's Day is about celebrating women, but it's also about committing collectively that we will continue to build a world where girls and women everywhere can thrive and flourish and grow and feel empowered. Because that feeling I had as a little girl, no little girl should grow up feeling that way ever. This International Women's Day in particular feels really different for me because over the last year, we have had a spotlight on a range of inequities. And in the context of gender inequities in particular, we know from all the data around us that women have been adversely affected by COVID. From everything from COVID impacting our health, to access to employment, to what's happening with us juggling elder care, family care, childcare, and more during this really difficult time. I think that we are more acutely aware of how life is hard to begin with, but when we have a pandemic and other forms of crises impact society, that women in particular, we have it even harder. And so we for many years have talked about creating change for women, interrupting systems of inequities that women experience, but I hope this year in particular, we'll come together collectively by using our voices and our actions to actually create real change for women around the world. On this International Women's Day, I choose to challenge myself to be a better ally to girls and women everywhere. What's your choose to challenge?